right, so let's quickly discuss about the VMware certifications and just in brief, like what is VMware and what it is. So basically, in the earlys, VMware started with the data center virtualization. What it means basically, we have like used to have physical servers in our environment. In the traditional environment, if we talk about, there were physical servers sitting in the data center, and then uh, uh, cables are connected to them, the power cables, network cables, storage. You can go inside the data center, you can touch and feel those servers, right? But VMware come and they started virtualizing them. What it means is now, instead of having individual servers, now I can run multiple servers on a single machine. So this was the part of data center virtualization, or the we call it server virtualization. So VMware is a company, all right, who provide these products. Right around now, yes. Any question? All right. So VMware have four main technology tracks right now. So one is DCV, which is data center virtualization. Okay. In DCV, basically, it talks about products such as ESXi, vCenter Server, then there is vSAN. All of these products come under this particular track. Then VMware introduced another track as well, which is called Desktop and Mobility. In desktop and mobility, basically there is Horizon. So if you have worked with Citrix, or if you have work on Zen app or Zen desktop, basically this is the competitive market for the same. Then there is another track called cloud management and automation. So there is this public cloud, AWS and Azure. Similarly, you do not want to go for the public cloud, but you want the flexibility and you want the features of a public cloud, but inside your data center. So this is where the cloud management and automation comes in. Basically, it talks about the vRealize suite, and if you want to build your own private cloud, or if you want to build a hybrid cloud, then you use these products, which is we realize automation, we realize business, and and last but not least is their network virtualization. Basically, what they have done for the server virtualization, similarly, they have performed the network virtualization, in which you can create your distributed firewall, logical switches, logical routers. Everything is virtualized in there. So NSX-V and NSX-T. So these are the two main products which are there in the network virtualization. Okay. Now, every track.
Vivek,
Yeah.
sorry, uh, for the third one, right? Third one is where physically this exists. This will be set up on the cloud from VMware side, or
No, no, it will be inside your data center, so it will be on premise.
so you mentioned the hybrid, right? What that means?
Hybrid. Hybrid is like, let's suppose you have a part of your infrastructure, or part of your servers are running on AWS, right? So basically, you have the public cloud services as well, and you have the private cloud services as well, all right? And you want a single console to manage those services. So that's where the hybrid comes in. Basically, from a single console, you can provision or manage the VMs provisioned on the private cloud, or you can provision or manage the VMs on the public cloud as well. So you do not have to go to separate consoles to provision your VMs.
Okay, and any example for a private cloud?
Private cloud example can be OpenStack. first example. Second can be VCF, which is VMware Cloud Foundation, and VRA itself, vRealize Automation.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. Okay. So continuing, yeah. So continuing, like, so these are the four main tracks. Okay. And in every track, what VMware do, they offer the VCP. Now, the first certification that you can achieve is VCP, which is VMware Certified Professional. Now, in VMware Certified Professional, there are mainly three prerequisites that you need to complete. This is valid for each and every track. One is the mandatory training. Okay, so you need to attend a VMware authorized training, then and it will tag to your VMware ID. So you will be creating a VMware Mylan ID, and this particular training will get tagged to your ID. Second thing that you need to clear is the foundation exam. So basically what VMware says, okay, let's suppose you do not want to move into data center virtualization, but you want to go for network virtualization. VMware says that's fine, but before you move into network virtualization, you have at least some basic knowledge about virtualization itself. So this foundation exam covers all those aspects, like what is ESXi, what is vCenter server, how do you manage the VMs, and what is HA, what is DRS. So all of those concepts, the basic concepts cover in the foundation exam. And then there is professional exam. Now, professional exam is specific to a track. So if you're going for the desktop and mobility, it will be specific to Horizon. If you're going for the cloud management and automation, it will be specific to vRealize suite. So this is how the VCP works. So basically you need to clear all those three things, the mandatory training, the foundation exam, and the professional exam. Then only you will get a VCP. All right. Any doubt till this point? Okay. But there is one good point here. Let's suppose you have achieved a VCP in any of the one track, be it DCV, DTM, CMA, or network virtualization. Now you want to have another VCP. All right. So let's suppose I have a VCP in data center virtualization. Okay. Now I want to clear the VCP for desktop and mobility. Now, this time I do not need to clear all of these foundation exam and training again. I just need to clear the professional exam and I will achieve another VCP. So if you have done a VCP or if you are an active VCP holder, you do not need to go for the training again and again. You just need to clear the professional exam and you will get the VCP for that particular track. Is this clear? Okay.
Yeah. So this each track is basically this is common. Looks like the first you three exams, right?
Right. The first foundation
At
exam is
least.
common for all. Okay. Foundation exam is common for each and every track. Training
Mhm.
is particular to individual tracks. So let's suppose you want to achieve or you want to clear the VCP for data center virtualization. Then the mandatory training will be vSphere, ICM, or some other training. All right. But if you want to take VCP for the desktop and mobility, then you need to do the mandatory training for the Horizon. Let's suppose you have done the training for data center virtualization, you have cleared the foundation exam, but now you are giving the professional exam for the desktop and mobility. Then you will not get a VCP. The reason is Your mandatory training is for a different track and your professional exam for a different track.
Sorry, can you just tell one more time what is VCP?
VCP is VMware Certified Professional. It is the first level of certification that you can get in VMware.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So you need to make sure that the training and the professional exam belong to a single track. You cannot mix and match different things. Okay. Now,
So,
let's up. Yeah.
yeah, out of these three, which one is the first step?
You can take them in any sequence. Only thing is on your MyLearn ID, all three things should be there. You can take them in any step. You can do the training first and then give the exam, or you can give the exam first and attend the training later on. So it's not like sequence wise. You can take them in any sequence.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So let's suppose after doing VCP, you want to do some advanced training in the same track. All right. So if you want to do some advanced track, then there is called VCAP, which is VMware Certified Advanced Professional. Okay. So there are two exams in this: design or deploy for each and every track. Okay. Design is basically a architectural exam and deploy is a lab based exam. So if you clear any of the one exam, so there are no training in this VCAP. The only prerequisite here is you should have a valid VCP. Okay. Now, if you clear any of the exam, design or deploy, anyone, you will get a VCAP. Okay. And if you clear both exams like design as well as deploy, you will get VCIX, which is VMware Certified Implementation Expert. So you need to clear both of these two exams to get a VCIX. And after VCIX, if you want to achieve further, you can go for VCDX, which is VMware Certified Design Expert. This is the highest level of certification that is provided by VMware.
So this both exam for all the track, right? All four track.
All four tracks, right? Okay. Any doubt till this point related to certifications?
Just to repeat again what you mentioned about the above line, like a BCP, then DM, then professional exam. What was that?
VCP, sorry, I didn't get you.
In above, I missed that some of the part. VCP, then DM,
Okay.
then professional exam.
Okay. So basically, I told about like if you want to do VCP, then there are three things that you need to clear. One is the mandatory training, another is the foundation exam, and another one is professional exam. All right.
Yeah.
Once you cleared all of these three things, then you will get a VCP. Okay.
Mhm.
For a particular
Okay.
track. Now, you want to move from into a different track. Let's suppose you have achieved VCP for the data center virtualization. Okay. Now
Okay.
you want to say, okay, DCV is done. I want to get the VCP for desktop and mobility. That is VCP hyphen DTM. Okay. Now, if you have a VCP beforehand, means you have a VCP with you, then you do not need to go for the training and foundation exam again and again. You just need to clear the professional exam and you will get a VCP for that particular track. In our case, you will get the VCP for desktop and mobility.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have one more participant with us, that is Fortis. Hi Fortis, how are you? Fortis, are you able to hear me? Okay, thank you, Fortis. All right, so this completes our certification path. All right, I forgot about one thing. Sometimes what happens, VMware releases specialist certifications. Okay, now these specialist exams do not belong to any of the one particular track. These are specific products. Sometimes it can be vSAN, sometimes it can be sometimes it can be VROps, sometimes it can be VMware on AWS. So these are particular to specific product, these exams. You just need to have a valid VCP and you go for the specialist exams. Okay. All right. So let's go to now our module. So basically, this is introduction to vSphere and the software-defined data center. So we will talk about like what is vSphere, uh, what is virtualization, what is software-defined data center. Like before moving ahead with the slides, I like to take this into a healthy discussion. All right, so I will go back to this one note to have some discussion around virtualization. So now I want the feedback from you guys. Like, according to you, what is virtualization? What do you think is virtualization? Anybody?
Yes, virtualization means anything that we doing uh, in respective of physically things present. For example, desktop virtualization, right, where we don't need physical operating system or server. Basically, we use VMware to create that virtual system which work like a real system.
Okay, right. So, okay. So according to you, virtualization is physical system is not there. It's in software basically, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's correct. Um, so what else could be virtualization? So just
Other
your
you
thoughts. There
yeah
is
other
no, yeah, please go ahead.
Other you mentioned, right, for the network virtualization also, right? A layer, there basically, instead of using the real network, those can be those network virtual can be virtualized using VMware, whatever the software there, and then that will be work as a virtual network. I don't have much detail, but I think something like that is that a network tool going to help to virtualize actual network system, and we can connect to the virtual network instead of the real networks systems.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. That's correct. Okay, so all right. Let me take this forward. So, what is virtualization? So when we say virtualization, we first need to understand why do we need virtualization. Okay, so let's take an example. Uh, let's go beyond uh, time and let's see. what was the scenario before virtualization comes in? Okay, so uh, let's imagine a scenario. So let's suppose there is a application team. Okay, they need a web server. Okay, so they need to run some website, and they comes to me and they say, okay, I need 2 CPU, 4 GB RAM, and some hard drive. Okay, now they give me this requirement and they ask me to build a system for them, and uh, there is no virtualization into place, and I do not have any spare boxes with me. I do not have any spare hardware. So what I need to do here is what I will do, I will first go to my vendor. I will get a quotation from them. Then I will get the PO. I will release PO. They will send me the this specific hardware, and then I will put it inside data center. I will fit it on the rack. I will connect all the cables. I need to install the operating system again, and I will hand it over to the application team so that they can install their application, or in our case, it is a website. Okay, so if we talk about traditional, it would be something like this. So this is my physical server, and on top of which I have installed OS, and on top of which application team will install their website or application. Correct? Any doubt till this point? Okay. Now this process happens, so their application is running for quite some time. So their website is running for like 5 months, 6 months, and they say, all right, we are getting some load on the website, and now we need to increase the resources. They tell me that you need to increase the resources by another 4 GB. So basically they were seeing some high memory usage, and they asked me to increase the RAM from 4 GB to 8 GB. Okay, now what do I need to do in this case? I will check if I have enough memory slots available so that I can increase the RAM from 4 GB to 8 GB. If I have additional RAM slots available, I will shut down the operating system. I will uh, power off the physical server. I will remove the panel, insert the new RAM into it, and I will increase the RAM and then give it to the application team. So now the RAM is increased, but what if I do not have any slots available? I do not have any new memory slots available, or if they ask me to increase from 2 CPU to 4 CPU, all right, and my motherboard is not compatible with the new CPU, what will happen in that particular case? To give the new requirements to my uh, application team, then I need to again go to my vendor with the new requirements. I will go to my vendor, I will give them my requirements, they will again send me the quotation. I need to again buy a new physical server. Now, once the physical server has been bought, I need to again reinstall the OS, and then application team needs to reinstall the application here, right? So as you can see, if my requirements are increasing, my OS is not limitation here. Application is itself not the limitation here. So what is the limitation here? This physical server, this physical layer, right? It is the limiting factor here. What if this physical layer had more slots available, had some kind of flexibility that without reinstalling the operating system or application, I could have increased the resources. But no, Because my hardware was the limitation, I had to procure new hardware, I had to reinstall the OS, and I had to reconfigure the application. So what is the limitation factor here is that is the physical hardware. So what is virtualization doing? Basically, it is breaking that physical limitation. So let's suppose in new case, what is this? So I have this physical server and this is my OS and this is my application. Okay. Now there is no direct dependency between the physical server and the operating system. I introduced a new layer in between them. What this layer is doing, basically, it is making sure that my operating system is not directly dependent on my physical server. Okay. Now, what's the benefit of doing this? Benefit is I can change my physical server anyhow and it will not impact my operating system because my operating system is now dependent on this new layer. Okay, it is not dependent directly on my physical server. So this is called virtualization. So virtualization is basically removing the limitations. Now, what type of limitation? The limitation of hardware. Okay, so let me write it down. Virtualization is removing limitation of hardware. So let's suppose in the previous example, what physical server, what type of hardware is here? It's a physical server. If I am removing limitation of my physical server or server, it is called server virtualization. So generally we call it compute. So compute is your its CPU and RAM. So if I am making my operating system independent of this physical server, so that is my compute virtualization. Now let's suppose I have storage, right? Storage is also a hardware. If I am removing the physical limitation of storage, physical storage, how do we say, how do we remove the physical limitation of storage? So let's take it by example. So let's suppose I have this physical server here, okay, and there is some hard drive installed here. Then there is also another server. Then there is hard drive, and then there is this another, and there is one more hard drive is there. Okay, now this is server 1, server 2, this is server 3. All right. Now, so let's assume that 100 GB hard drive is installed in server 1, 100 GB installed in server 2, and 100 GB installed in server 3. Now, can server 1 directly write on hard drive of server 2? Yes, no,
No, no, no.
no, right? Because because the limitation here is this hard drive is local to server 1. Similarly, this another hard drive is local to server 2. Okay, but what if I can create a pool of these hard drives, and combining these three hard drives it will be 300 GB. Okay, and I will combine these three hard drive. So server 1, server 2, and server 3, all three will have access to the 300 GB of storage. And let's suppose there is another server, which is server 4. Even this server does not have any storage assigned to it, and still it can access this 300 GB pool of storage. Can I say I have removed the physical limitation of my storage?
Yes.
Arvind, you're saying voice is breaking. Is this true for everybody?
No.
All right. Okay, thank you, Arvind. All right. So now, can I say that I have removed the physical limitation of my storage? So there are each server has only 100 GB of storage, but they have access to 300 GB of storage, right? And if I talk about server 4, which does not have any storage, but still it can write to 300 GB of storage. So this is called storage virtualization. Sorry. And this is the example of vSAN. So there is VMware technology called vSAN. In the vSAN, we do exactly this. Okay. So this is just an example of storage virtualization. So if I am removing the limitation of my storage hardware, it will become storage virtualization. Similarly, network, if I am removing the rigid or the inflexibility of network hardware, it will become network virtualization. Basically, I can create my uh, uh, storage switch. Network switches. I can create the router on the go. I can create load balancer on demand. So all of these things I can create if and when required. So that is network virtualization with the help of NSX. So NSX, vSAN, and here it will be ESX. Okay. Then similarly we have the desktop. So if I am removing the physical limitation of my desktops, it will become desktop virtualization. So only point here is we need to understand what is virtualization. So virtualization is not that you are completely removing the hardware, but it's to remove the limitation of your hardware. So hardware can be anything. It can be compute, storage, network, desktop. Okay, pick anything and it will have a product to make it virtualization. All right. Any doubt till this point?
Yeah, one question. So, for this hardware, it doesn't matter which manufacturer, right, which vendor, is it will work with the anything, right? For example, storage, we can use any storage, any company storage, and that will work with the vSAN, correct?
Okay. So that is dependent upon the technology. So vSAN, for particular scenario vSAN, there are some prerequisites that you need to fill. vSAN basically works with local hard drives. When we say local hard drives, it's the hard drives that are directly inserted on the uh, physical server, or you can use JBoards, just bunch of disk. Like there are DAS storages there, you can use those as well.
Okay.
Okay, but if I talk about the vplex, which is a EMC solution, you can use the EMC storage there, like the Unity or the VNX, Vmax. So those kind of solution you can use. So again, it's upon the different requirement. Sorry, product to product, it will vary.
Okay.
Okay.
And what about the compute?
Compute ESXi, the same case. So
Okay.
ESXi will have something called HCL, hardware compatibility list. Okay. Because when I talk about ESXi, I will let you know why it is that. But ESXi can perfectly work with the subset of hardware. It cannot work with the every type of hardware. Basically, ESX will not work with your laptop, but it can work very fine with a server. Okay. uh, Older ESX version might not be able to work with newer hardware. Okay, so that can be the one case. When we talk about ESX, I will let you know why it is like that. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So the basic idea, what is virtualization, that is clear, right? Okay. No doubts. So, okay. So basically, compute virtualization. So all of these products that I have written here, these are VMware. Okay. Similarly, other company has manufactured their own products as well. So, uh, uh, let's compare those as well. So let's see for compute. Okay. For compute, there is VMware, and then there is Microsoft, then there is Citrix, and then there is Linux. So VMware has provided something called ESXi. Microsoft has provided Hyper-V. Citrix has provided Zen Server, and in the Linux we also have KVM. In the storage, VMware has provided vSAN. Microsoft has something called Storage Space Direct. Citrix and Linux, not aware about like if they have any product. Network, VMware has NSX. Microsoft does not have any full-fledged product, but they have something called Network Controller. With the help of SCVVM, you can create these, again, the logical switches and the load balancer there. And then in the desktop, VMware has the complete Horizon suite. Microsoft has RDS. Citrix have okay, sorry. In the network, Citrix have NetScaler, and in the they have Zen Desktop and Zen App, which is their most selling product. All right. So as you can see, every company have their own products. More or less, they are same. Only main criteria here is to understand the concept behind these products or technologies. Okay. Now,
Sorry,
this
sorry to interrupt.
yeah,
So what is the Citrix compute name product?
it's Zen Server.
Okay. And there is more complete like other competitor, right? EMC, Dell, and other.
Yeah. So there are like yes, that's right. There are more competitors. So Oracle is also there. Then you can say the Cisco have their own system in place. But if we talk about the most popular ones, so I just mentioned only the most popular ones.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So this lesson here is more focused about the compute virtualization or server virtualization. So whenever we say server virtualization, we are talking about this line, compute line. Basically, we are talking about the removing the hardware limitation of your physical server. So let's see what is compute virtualization and what is hypervisor. So just going back to the same example, this physical server, okay, in the traditional environment, my operating system is directly installed on my physical server. Okay. Now, what will happen if your physical server got crashed? Your operating system is gone. You have to uh, build a new physical server and you have to reinstall the operating system. Why? Because your operating system was dependent on your physical server. So, in the modern approach, what we did, we introduced this new layer, okay, which is making my operating system independent of my physical server. So this layer here is called hypervisor. So hypervisor is a generic name. So hypervisor is a agent, uh, which is providing the function of virtualization. Basically, it is converting your physical resources into virtual resources. So your physical server will have physical CPU, physical RAM, physical storage, physical controllers. This hypervisor will convert them into virtual CPU, virtual RAM, virtual disk, virtual controllers, and provide these virtual resources to your operating system so that it can your operating system will not know that it is running on a virtual machine. It will just feel operating system will see it like, okay, I'm running on a physical system itself. Okay, so let's talk in depth about this hypervisor. So hypervisor is your physical server, on top of which there will be hypervisor. Now, what hypervisor is doing, it is converting your physical resources into virtual one. So now to combine these virtual resources, basically hypervisor will create a pool of resources. Okay. And we combine them into something called virtual machine. Okay. So virtual machine will have virtual CPU, virtual RAM and everything there. Okay. Now, but before going there, let's take an analogy like how hypervisor is working. Okay, let's assume you have a desktop here. So everybody is working with Microsoft Word, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's suppose you have a system here, laptop or desktop. Okay. Now on your desktop you have any of the installed there MS Word. Now, what are you doing in MS Word? You are creating a file, a document file. Okay. So let's suppose you created a sample file S1 with the extension .doc. Okay. This bit is
Yes.
clear. Now, imagine while working on this document, your desktop got crashed. What will happen to your document? It will be lost. You will not be able to work with it. But let's assume that this document, you were saving this document in a pen drive, in a USB disk here. Okay. Now you have another desktop. Okay. On which MS Word is there. So can I take this USB onto the new desktop and will it be able to open my document?
If you saved it, yes.
Right? Because the document is saved inside the USB, I can simply plug out my USB take it to my another working desktop which have MS Word installed over there, and I will be able to use my document, right? I will be able to edit it, I will be able to modify it, I will be able to save some new information in it, right? Okay. Now, but as let's assume that instead of this MS Word on your desktop here, there is something called OpenOffice. Now, will you be able to open this same document?
No.
No.
No, right? Because OpenOffice have its own extension, something called ODC or ODF. I'm not 100% sure what is the extension, but OpenOffice uses some other extension than your MS Word. Okay, so the same thing is happening with my hypervisor. This desktop is being replaced by physical server. This MS Word is being replaced by hypervisor, and this document is now my operating system or application. So basically what is happening, my whole virtual machine is saved in the form of files. Okay. Now, if one physical server got crashed, or if this another physical server got crashed, I can simply move these files from one location to another and I can run them again. Okay, so the main benefit here of using hypervisor is it is making my operating system independent of my physical server. This physical server, it can be of Dell, it can be of HP, it can be Cisco, it can be IBM. Physical server can be anything, but the main point here is hypervisor needs to remain same. Okay, so let's suppose you have a VM created using hypervisor ESX. Basically, you have hypervisor of VMware, which is ESXi, and then something got happened and your physical server got crashed. Now you cannot move this VM onto a Hyper-V and try to power it on. You first have to convert the virtual machine to compatible format. Okay, so my operating system is now dependent upon which layer? It is dependent upon hypervisor. It is not dependent upon physical server. Okay, so this is the benefit of hypervisor. It is making my operating system independent of my physical server. So if my physical server got crashed, nothing happens. I can simply install the hypervisor on a separate physical server and power on my virtual machine or my operating system. Till this point, any doubt?
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, for example, I am using my laptop in which I installed a VMware.
Okay.
Inside a VMware, I use a Cisco lab,
Okay.
and now my physical device is got corrupted. Like my physical Windows 10 is got corrupted. In that case,
Right.
how will I access that lab again?
Okay. So the first thing that on your laptop that you're installing, it's something called VMware Workstation, right?
Right, sir.
Yeah, VMware Workstation is different from the ESXi. Okay, so let me
Okay.
take this question, okay, and let me show you what is the difference. So, in the hypervisor, there are two type of hypervisor. Okay, one is called type 1 and another is called type 2.
Okay.
This type 1 is also called bare metal hypervisor. Okay, so what happened in bare metal hypervisor? The examples that we were discussing, this physical server is there. Okay, on top of which there will be hypervisor. All right.
Yes, sir.
Now in type 2 it will be, so this type 1 hypervisor is also called as hypervisor as a OS, because if you see, the hypervisor is being installed directly on the physical server. There is no other layer in between them. But type 2 is called as a application. How? So in this particular case, there will be physical system, on top of which there will be OS. In your case, it is Windows 10, and then there will be
Yes.
a hypervisor.
Yes.
Okay. So these type of hypervisor, type 2 hypervisor, these are consumer grade hypervisor. Okay.
Okay.
When we say consumer grade, means there are very less prerequisites required for them. But if we talk about these, the server hypervisor or the enterprise grade hypervisor, in this particular case, I need to have a central storage. So all the physical server will be connected to a single storage, and they will be saving their data over there.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
But
Fine.
that is not your case. So basically you have the hard drive over here as well. So you are basically saving each and everything inside this hard drive. If your physical system got corrupted or your hard drive got corrupted, I'm afraid uh, you have lost your data.
Okay, fine.
Okay. So this VMware Workstation is a consumer grade hypervisor. We are talking about the EA6i.
Okay.
Yeah, one question on this. So type 2, right? In type 2 case, what hypervisor doing is what is removing the limitation of operating system?
No, it's again removing the limitation of the physical server itself. But problem here is in the type 2 is all the processing is going through this operating system. So all the because type 2 is working as an application, so every processing needs to go through the operating system. So you will be bounded by this operating system limitations basically. But again, this physical system, its resources will be virtualized by hypervisor. So physical system, let's suppose it has CPU, RAM, storage, right? So this hypervisor will provide the virtual CPU, virtual RAM, and virtual disk. So there will be like this VM. So you will have again OS and app over here. Okay.
Yeah.
So it is also called OS inside OS sometimes.
Okay.
Okay, this is just for the testing purpose. Let's suppose you have a new operating system coming in, and you do not want to test it directly on your laptop. So you can create a new virtual machine and install the operating system over there and test it out without actually having any impact.
Okay.
Okay.
So those are the use cases for type 2 use.
Yeah, type 2 is just for the testing purpose or the development purpose. We do not use type 2 ever in the production environment.
Okay.
Okay. For the production, we always go for the type 1 hypervisor, which is a bare metal hypervisor. Okay. Yeah. So, yes. So, any doubts now related to hypervisor? What is hypervisor and what is the function of hypervisor?
Sir, can we say hypervisor is a kind of a operating system which installed over the server?
Yeah, that's what I written here. Hypervisor as a OS, right? Here.
Okay, yeah. Fine.
Hypervisor is a technology that is converting your physical resources into virtual, or it is removing the hardware limitation of your server. But yes, hypervisor can be installed two ways, either as an operating system or either as a application. So that's the segregation there, type 1 and type 2. Any other doubt?
So,
Yeah.
there
Just want to check.
Sorry, I got some
Hello.
mixing voice. Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, hi, it's Sandesh here.
Yeah.
So actually, how we can manage this hypervisor? Like, means it's a kind of as a hypervisor as a OS. So we
Mhm.
can means it's kind of CLI kind of thing. We are able to see it, or we can
Right.
see it as a
Uh,
GUI kind of thing. Windows
Exactly.
network.
We will be coming to that part. So basically, by both, you can manage hypervisor using GUI or using CLI. You can manage it by both. So we will be coming to that part.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody was asking a question too.
Yeah, Vinay, this is Rajesh. My question are related to the same what Sandesh asked. So, but
Okay.
I was more specific to there are multiple product, right, for the hypervisor from different vendor, correct?
Right.
So my question are related to that. So each those vendor product, they all following the same hypervisor as a type 2, type 1 and type 2.
Yeah, means VMware is providing ESXi as a type 1 hypervisor. Okay, let me draw a brief comparison on the different products. Okay, so let's say this is type 1 and this is type 2. So if we talk about VMware, it is type 1 is ESXi and type 2 is workstation, right? If we talk about Microsoft, Hyper-V is a type 1, and they used to have something called virtual machines, something they had named it. And Citrix, they have Zen Server. I'm not aware if they are providing any type 2 hypervisor. Oracle, they have KVM and VirtualBox. Okay. So again, multiple vendors are providing either type 1 or type 2. So yes, uh, depends.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Any other doubts? Okay. So let's quickly look at the slides because now it will be easier for you to go through the slides. Okay. So this is again talking about the traditional architecture in which we used to have the physical server on which my operating system is installed, on top of which application is configured. Again, poor use of physical resources because only one operating system can use the physical resources. Let's suppose you have 4 CPU, 16 GB RAM, out of which only 10% or 20% resources are utilized. So rest 80-90% resources are being wastage. High management, you have to have a data center team to manage those physical servers. High infrastructure cost, again that goes for high physical server count. You need to invest it in the power, AC, cooling, all those things. Provisioning challenge, we see if we need to build a new server, I need to go to vendor, take the quotation, release the PO, rack the server, stack the server, configure the operating system. Generally this time takes like weeks to configure a single server. But if we talk about virtualization, I can provision a new server in couple of minutes. insufficient failover, poor disaster protection. So all of these are the either the benefits or the features of virtualization which virtualization has conquered. But we need to understand what is virtualization. It is basically removing the physical limitation of your hardware. If we talk about the virtual architecture, again, it is the expanded use of physical resources. Again, all the points which are the drawbacks of your traditional architecture, those are the uh, key points of your virtual architecture. Okay. So again, reduce management. In previous case where I need to manage 100 physical servers, now I can set up only 4 physical servers and I can run 100 physical servers on them. Increase security, availability of application, reduce DR time. Let's suppose your physical server got crashed. You can simply move the VM from one server to another. You can perform using HA. So in couple of seconds, you can restore your VM as well. Now, if we talk about virtual machine is just like a physical machine. So in your physical machine, you will have CPU, RAM, storage, controllers, ports, each and everything there. So it is just the representation, but in software of your physical computer. Now, because like I said, with the help of the MS Word example, your software is saved in the form of files and folders. So your virtual machine is also being saved in the form of files. So there are multiple files which are there. So we will be going through that as well. And the main key components in case of VMware is your VMware tools. Basically, for any better or efficient utilization of any hardware, you need to install driver in it in the operating system, right? Now we are using virtual resources. So who will provide the drivers? So VMware provide the driver for the virtual resources in the form of VMware tools. So in your virtual machine, you will have operating system, VMware tools, and virtual resources. So this is just comparison of physical machine to virtual machine. So obviously physical machines are difficult to move or copy. You need to move the entire server, right? But virtual machines are just a bunch of files. You can copy and paste files into uh, different locations very easily, independent of physical hardware. There, like I said, the virtual machine is completely independent of physical hardware. So underlying hardware can be anything. They are not bounded by that. Okay. And on a single physical hardware, you can run multiple virtual machines. Okay. And they will be isolated from each other. So this is again just talking about the types of virtualization. So uh, it again depends like whose hardware limitation you are removing, it will become a virtualization. If you are removing the hardware limitation of server, it will become server virtualization. If you are removing hardware limitation of network, it will become network virtualization. If you are removing hardware limitation of storage, it will become storage virtualization. If you are removing hardware limitation of desktop, it will become desktop virtualization. I hope it's clear now.
You can give example for network virtualization. What hardware we need to remove in that? Any example?
We do not remove the hardware. So, okay, let me give you an example. Okay, so, all right. So, are you aware about all of these VLANs and network stuff? or have some idea about it?
Yeah, high level, yeah.
Okay, all right, perfect. So, yeah, let's take a simple example. So let's suppose these are my ESXi host, all right? Okay, now on top of which there are multiple VMs running. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now I will say all of these VMs belong to different networks. All right. So this belongs to VLAN 10. This belongs to 20. This belongs to 30. This belongs to 40. This belongs to 50. This belongs to 60. Okay. So all the VMs belongs to different network. Okay. Now these ESXi will be connected to network switches. And these switches will be further connected to router. Okay. Now, if this virtual machine 1, VM1 wants to talk to VM2, how will happen? It will send its packet first to ESXi. ESXi will send to switch. Switch will send to router. Router will again send it back to switch. Switch will send it to ESXi, and then ESXi will send to VM2. This bit is clear? Okay. Now, if VM1 wants to talk to VM3, again the same process will happen. The packet will flow from 1 to ESXi, ESXi to switch, switch to router, then router to switch, switch to ESXi, and then ESXi to 3. So basically, both the VMs 1 and 3 are running on the same ESXi, but they need to travel the whole network to talk to each other. Why it is happening? Because my router is external, right? If you want to talk between different networks, you need a L3 device or a router, right? So that they can talk to each other. But this router, the problem here is router is not on the ESXi, it is external to my host. It's a physical router. Now, what if I could create a router inside the ESXi itself, a logical router? What will happen in that case? VM1 will send its packet to ESXi. ESXi will internally manage the packet and then it will send to VM3. Now I do not need to, still I will need this physical network for the host to host communication or any other communication. But if you will see, now instead of traveling the whole physical network, I can, if two VMs are on the same ESXi host, they can directly talk to each other, right? So why this is possible? With the help of network virtualization, I can create a logical router inside the ESXi itself.
So that logical router will be created based on this physical router and switch, right?
No, it will be with the help of NSX. So it's routing, everything will be different. This logical router can talk to your physical router as well.
Okay.
It can perform all the things like the uh, sorry the, what do we say, the dynamic routing, the static routing, all the things that are supported in the physical, it can do here in the the logical router as well. Okay, but it's completely independent of your physical router basically.
Okay. So it's kind of software which we create based on the whatever the use case, right? It's not
Right.
depend on the actual physical.
No,
switch
it's
and
not dependent upon the actual physical switches or router. It's basically created with the help of software. Instead of router, if you do not need a router, you can create a load balancer as well. Okay. Similarly,
okay.
you can create multiple networks as well. Because right now we are using VLANs, you can have something called VXLAN. Means you can create multiple different logical subnets with the help of VXLAN on the ESXi itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No. Okay, so going forward, okay, so type of virtualization, I hope this is clear. And about the software defined data center. So what is software defined data center is basically software defined data center is where everything is virtualized. My compute is virtualized, my network is virtualized, my storage is virtualized. So let's suppose this is my physical server, this is my physical storage, and this is my physical network. All right. Now I virtualize all of these three resources because these are the three key components in any of the data center. So storage, sorry, for ESXi I used, for server I used ESXi, storage I used vSAN, and network I use NSX. What will happen? It will create a pool of virtual resources. Correct? Because once I have the pool of virtual resources, I can easily cut them. I can easily create a chunk like, okay, I need this much of CPU and RAM, this much of storage, and I need these many network features. I can basically create these chunks very easily. Now, the main benefit of having these pool of virtual resources is I can automate the whole process. So this is where the VRA comes in. Basically, your VRA can talk to your pool of virtual resources. Now, your user, so let's suppose, sorry. So let's suppose you have a user, it can go to VRA portal, it can request for the services, and VRA will provision those services from the virtual resources. Then VRA can talk to VRB as well, which is vRealize business. What vRealize business will say, okay, user, you are requesting for these many services, you have to pay. Basically you can define the charges for your services as well. So user will request services, it will show the charges, approval process will follow. Once it is approved, user will get its services automatically. And then you can have VROps to manage these pool of virtual services, sorry, not to manage, to monitor these pool of virtual resources that they are not depreciating. If they are depreciating, you can increase them. Okay, so this is what I call it as software defined data center. So this is my software defined data center, which is created with the help of VMware products. So if you will look at, this is kind of a private cloud. Okay, user does not have to go to different team for the different services. From a single portal, it can ask for network services, storage services, or the server services. All right. Is this concept clear? What is SDDC? Okay. Now,
What is the product name for this? Like,
yeah, I'm coming to that. Okay. Now, because all of these are my pool of virtual resources, and if we talk about the cloud, whether it's AWS or Azure, they are also using in the backend virtualization is in place, so it can easily connect to each other, and this will become your hybrid cloud. Now this SDDC, either you can use separate products. Okay, means you buy the vRealize suite differently. You buy the vCenter server, you buy the vSAN, you buy the NSX, and then you create your own SDDC, or you can go for VCF. VCF is nothing. VCF is basically, if you combine all of these products, ESXi, vSAN, NSX, VRA, Horizon, it's a single suite called VCF. Okay, it will help you in deploying this private cloud, whole these technologies or whole these products very easily. Okay, any doubt? Okay, so this is my software defined data set. So this is VMware Cloud Foundation, as is mentioned, and you can integrate your private or public cloud with it. Okay. So any doubt till this point, like what is virtualization, or what is hypervisor, what is ESXi, and what is software defined data center? Any doubt, just let me know. Okay, so let's just take a quick 5-minute break. It's 8 o'clock at my end, so we will meet in 5 minutes. So I will start in next 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay, thank you.